Welcome back, Forex fans. It's Rob from eXplore here again with Steve Hawkins from CatHawk Studios with Alliance of the Sacred Sons. Welcome, Steve.
Glad to be here. How you doing?
Doing well. Hey, so things have changed pretty dramatically, and for much for the better. It's looking great. Tell me about the UI changes. You've got some really great stuff going on here.
Yeah, we've been working on the UI for about 2 or 3 months now, and we're going to continue to work on it for about another 2.5. We just want to make everything clear. Alliance of the Sacred Sons, obviously there's a lot going on, and we just wanted to make it more accessible and kind of minimize the information that you don't need and really only focus on what you use, the vast majority of the time. So pretty much all the screens are going to be redesigned. Obviously the main UI has been kind of redesigned. We're going to change the way we do projects. The character screen is going to be different, and we're kind of changing the interface, making it more consistent, easier to read fonts. You'll kind of see that as we progress through the Let's Play.
Yeah, it looks fantastic, Steve. I really like it. It's very clean. It very much looks like a professional job here, so I like it a lot. Well, what I wanted to do was kind of recap what we did last time, since the UI has changed so dramatically, and we can go back through and set our budget and talk about maybe the other things that now maybe they're in the, we're still looking at the same data, but they're sort of in a different, presented in a different way. So I know we'll start here by going down to the economic screen, right? And we'll be looking at setting our budget here.
Yeah, and this hasn't changed yet, so you can kind of set your budget the same way.
Okay. I remember we wanted to make sure that we didn't have too much of this going on, so we had, we wanted to keep it, I think lower than 10% is what you said. And
then you don't want to lose your Inquisitor squads if you can help it. So right now you have a 6.3% chance of losing one if you keep it at that intel budget.
And we can add subsidies, right? So what would you, I don't remember, what would you recommend as far as subsidy goes? I know that you said it was a good idea to kind of throw some money in there to help, introduce more cash flow into your allocations here, but where would you go? Would you go all the way up with this, or halfway up, or just whatever I think? Whatever feels good?
Well, this is immediately a part of the strategy. If you lose your house treasury, and you have a negative cash flow, you lose the game, because you bankrupted the empire and you can't pay out of your own personal treasury to sort of subsidize it. So, it's certainly viable to add in your first turn if you want to kind of get things up and running. It's the only turn in which you are guaranteed a positive cash flow. So, what I like to do, I do like to add about 200 to 300. Now, keep in mind, it does take away 25 power, so you kind of deal with that. But it gives you a nice running start on things like reforms, and then military and domestic. It kind of helps your power and your popular support, respectively.
Right. And so I remember too, we were looking at the financial prime last time, and I think this guy's even worse than my last one. So I know that that's somebody I probably want to make sure I replace with somebody who possibly could work towards, getting me better standing with another house, and also just get rid of that number, that 25%. That's pretty low. So I'm only taking in basically a quarter of what I'm taxing, right?
Yeah, so you'll only be collecting 25% of what you see as the empire share. So if it's negative, you don't have to worry about it. But if it's positive, like the new Terra, then you'd only be taking 25% of 589, which isn't very much. So you probably definitely want to upgrade.
Yeah, we want to get rid of this guy. Although I really like the portrait, by the way. The portrait looks fantastic. All right, so walk me back through that again. So I know here I'm going to go ahead and we're going to leave that in. We're going to go ahead and set that down. And now we will go to, help me out here.
So you want to go, so the Celestial Council is a new screen. It's going to be the third from the top in the middle on the left-hand side. You have those buttons now. It's not tool tipped yet, but it's the one that looks like the three, people sitting. All right. So this shows you your Celestial Council. So it starts with you, and then your 5 primes, and then you have 3 at-large spots. You can kind of see on the right, they have a little thicker border. So you have 2 that are already set, and 1 that you can actually, you can appoint someone to the Celestial Council. So this is a good place to go if you want to kind of go to someone directly. This is also where bills are proposed, which is new since you've played. But this is a good place to kind of find your primes, find your at-large. You can fire them from the council, or I guess remove them from the council, not really fire them. And then also, of course, interact and talk to them. When we get a bill I'll show you a little bit more about this screen.
All right, so my financial prime will always be a part of the council here. So when we do get rid of him, that spot's going to be new. All right. And then these people, these at large, are they people that are generally people I'd want to, bring in from other houses? Are they looked down favorably and stuff like that?
So the council is biggest boon that you can give a character. It's a high honor. So your 5 prime slots are going to be filled. You always have to have a prime, but the 3 slots don't necessarily have to be filled. You can give them to anybody you want. However, if you say give all 3 slots to your own house, then the other houses are going to look very unfavorably on that. So you want to try to balance. Now, the game tries to put 1 person from each house in each prime, so it's fairly balanced at the start. You typically want to put people that are predisposed to you already, or someone that you're trying to improve your relations with and your house relations with as well. So I would recommend kind of waiting to see how the game goes. Look for a house that you're trying to improve relations with, because giving especially a house leader, putting them on a council is a huge plus.
Gotcha. All right, so let's get rid of my financial prime. How do I do that now? Come through.
Okay, so go back to actually you can go to the finance screen.
Okay.
Just click on the finance screen and then click on him directly. Just click on his, there you go. Go to assignment actions, and you can go designate for assignment. Basically says, I'm going to find you another spot within 3 months, and it's a little less harsh than reassign. And then from here, you can pick someone to replace them, and you have different filters, planet, system, province, empire, character of interest, which you can flag, and then you can pick by houses. So typically you want to put someone here with a house, again, that you're trying to improve a relationship with, and then you definitely want them to have a high economic skill. That's kind of a huge driver as far as how efficient they're going to be.
All right, so with this we can, okay, I get it now. And so we should probably look to see who the houses situation, right? To first kind of figure out who we might put there.
Yeah, one thing I always recommend is always try to look quickly to see your situation, because you've got a very interesting situation. You've got 2 cooperative houses, 1 ally, and then you've got 2 people that are at Cold War. So typically, I tried to tweak it a little bit in this build to where not everyone just hates you right off the bat, because that's pretty hard. So you've got a more balanced kind of setup now. So you can look at either improving your relationship with someone that you're already cooperative with, or you can look to improve a relationship with someone that you're not with, like Curly Finn and Waldegrave. Now, if you're into science and research, you'll probably want Curly Finn on your side, because they and Horlock are the 2 kind of science houses. And Waldegrave is more military. Of course, we're going to be adding military in the next major update next month. So, if it were me, if you want to concentrate on science, I'd try to get Curly Finn in the fold. Alternately, you can try to push Van Rigel or Melock over to being an ally, because once they're an ally, you can add their power into your overall score for their house.
Gotcha. Okay, so I know that my strength isn't particularly suited for academic tradition, so I'm with you. I think Corelli Finn is probably a good house to win over, so we'll come back over to this, and then we'll look through to the houses here, right? Okay, so
So the X's are houses that you have filters. So right now, if it's an X, it means you can see, people that belong to those houses. So right now you only have a planet filter. So if you want to see more people, you're going to need to push it out to system or province or empire.
My bad. All right, so let's go ahead and do province, and we'll do just the Corelli Finn here. And all right, so now we can look to see who has a decent. So we're looking at the little like money icon, right?
Correct. Now the problem is Curly Finn is not a strong economic house.
Right.
If you look at their traditions, they're very weak. So, you may give it to them just to be nice, but it may not help your situation that much.
Yeah, it doesn't look like it's going to.
Yeah, and that's kind of a big part of the strategy of the game. You're dealing with real people, and so just as in real life, you have to make trade-offs. okay, well, I can't get the very, in so many 4X games, you just put the very best person in the slot and call it a day. In Alliance, I mean, you can, but it may not be the best thing because that person that's the best may be the house that's your bitterest rival, so it's not a good idea to give them even more power. So you have to consider not only the short term, which obviously you want someone that's competent, but then what is this going to cost me long term? Am I giving a house too much power? Am I giving a character too much power? Maybe someone that does not predisposed to me may plot against me. So it's not as simple as just finding the best person and calling it a day.
Right. So the best one we have here has only got 16. So would you recommend?
Well, you don't know that because you've got some question
yeah,
marks. So
some
if you want to devote some intel, you can assign an inquisitor to them. But then of course that'll take some time. So again, trade-offs, because every turn, they're not actually collecting until the end of the year. So if you want to put intel on a few people that you think might be good candidates and make sure that they have a good score, or if you want to spend time with them, remember you can just spend time directly and get intel that way once a turn, if they agree. So there's a lot of ways to gather intel on a particular character. Oh, you've got a good Inquisitor squad. A 3 and 2 is pretty uncommon.
So that would just assign them to Corrali Finn then, right?
If you assign them to the house, they'll gradually gather information on the house and then the characters within it. It won't be as direct as assigning it to the character directly, but it's better than not.
Okay. And then over time, some of those character traits are uncovered. Does that information become something that like pops up as the turn progresses, or do I have to go back and check it manually?
Nope, it'll pop up. You'll see it. We've got all new icons on the left-hand side where the alerts are. So you'll see an icon. Basically, it's a character status update.
Excellent. All right, so we'll hold off on selecting a new financial prime then until we get some more information about Corrali Finn and maybe somebody who possibly could do the finances a little bit better than those that we have to choose from. And I remember this is kind of where we were last. We had chosen the financial prime. We were looking at how the money was coming in and how it was going to work. And then we were going to start talking about more of like the system efforts. So where would you direct me towards now?
So right now, your financial situation isn't going to be great. So you probably want to concentrate on a system that needs some work. So if you go to the economic mode, which is the number 3 in the center. Yeah, see, it's in the center now. Yeah. Okay, and zoom in. Okay, so you see now you have a gross solar product or gross system product, and that's kind of the aggregate. So Neosiris is doing okay, but you want to concentrate on the systems that aren't doing great. Like Vow or Eternal Spring, none of them are profitable. So I would concentrate on those. And you've got houses that are favorable. I mean, you've got Waldegrave isn't, but Horlock is. So if you want to try to help out your buddies, another way of improving relations with houses to improve their economy, basically, because they use this money too to kind of do their thing. They use money to do projects. Actions. I mean, they can't, if they're just like you, if they're broke, they can't do anything. So that's a great way to kind of get used to them. So you can see we've updated the system screen as well. Looks a lot cleaner now. Of course, we're going to be doing some new tooltips. So I don't know, have you played Total War 3 Kingdoms?
Yes, I have.
Okay, well, we're going to borrow heavily from their tooltip system.
Nice.
So the tooltips will be extremely, basically when you hover over a number, you'll know exactly how that number was generated, which is something I really love about that game. Is that it doesn't, you know exactly like where this number is coming from. Our goal is to have no mystery numbers by the time.
Excellent, awesome. So yeah, I do like the new UI. It's very clean. I feel like the information provided to me is very legible and easy to figure out. So where am I? Okay, so I want to help them with their economy, right? So how am I going to do that?
Okay, so click on Horlakia. That's their system. That's their capital. So go ahead and click. All right. Now, as you can see, we have a vastly different planetary system. So you've got every mode will have basically a right wing and a left wing. You can open up one panel on the right and one on the left. The one on the left is going to be your revenue. That's going to be kind of your trade, your retail. Go ahead and click on the GPP button. and that'll open up kind of a wing, and this gives you kind of some basic information. So right now you can see your GBP is not super high. If you look on the top center where it says Holokia Provincial Capital, there's a fly out. There's a button or a little air. There you go. This gives you some, a little bit more information about the planet itself. So the value is 81. The base ADM is 48. The development level is only 9, which is interesting. That tells you there's not a lot, even though it's provincial capital, there's probably not a lot of admin there. It's only got 101 million people. So you probably don't want to mess with the infrastructure. That's something that's a lot of people say, oh, I'll just knock out a bunch of infrastructure and save some money. I mean, you can do that, but then it's a lot more expensive to build infrastructure than it is to knock it out. And so if you need that planet to grow, then you basically start overcrowding and you kind of mess yourself up another way. So let's take a look at trade. Let's see if they've got any trade. All right, so they've got a provincial trade. It's only a level 1 though, which is interesting. 18 merchants. They don't have a lot of merchants. They're already importing some goods. Go to retail. Okay, so they have a pretty high materialism. So materialism is kind of new. This is one of the ideas for cultures. So basically, the higher the materialism for a culture, the more stuff they want. So which makes retail more efficient. So right now you're making a little bit on retail, but your retail allocation is pretty low. It's probably about 15% looking at that bar, and your efficiency is only 2%, and that's because you have so few merchants. So one thing that you can do pretty quickly is talk to the Viceroy and ask them to boost your retail allocation. Now, before you do that, go to the other side and go to production. Okay, so that's a thing. So right now you're really not making a surplus of anything, just a tiny bit for food and energy. I mean, you got just a bare surplus on everything. So if you push more towards retail, that's going to push basic and energy and heavy towards basically like your building stuff is what it represents as you're putting it into that retail sector. And as you can see, your stockpile, especially on basic material, is super low. So that actually may not be a good idea. So that's why you kind of have to look at the full picture before you just throw everything into retail. So then you want to take a look, go ahead and look at employment. Okay, so you've got fairly low planetary unemployment. You've got basically your fluxmen are mostly hurting, and you got some farmers out of work. Everybody else is basically fully employed. So you've got enough people for sure. You probably just need to concentrate on what's being built. Go to build plan, please. Okay, so right now this Viceroy is focusing on academies, so they're putting a lot of time. The problem is they only have 3 build points. They have almost no factories, so they probably need to be building some factories. So the way this new system, so you see the bar is if it's completely full, it means 100% is being allocated of all their build points towards that sector, and then the number is how many turns it will take to build basically one level of that sector. If you see the infinity sign, it means it'll never be built. If it's 99, that means it's at least 100 turns. It could actually be more than that, but it's like 99 plus. So right now they need factories like really badly. So what I would do if I were the Viceroy on this planet is I would talk to the Viceroy. I would ask them to change their focus to factories. And then I would push retail, I would pump up retail a little bit. I would push it up to about 25%. And then I would try to overdrive my factories to about 70%.
All right, so how do I do that?
Click on your Viceroy, which you see is moved up to up by your Emperor. So now it's a little more, all the system governor or the province governor or the Viceroy is always going to be in that same spot. So go ahead and click on the picture. Okay, and then go to assignment actions. So we'll get them to try to build more factories first. Okay, so you want to improve specific economic sector. So just so you know, the numbers on the left or on the right, that is the amount of power that you risk if you ask them to do this and they decline. If it's in white, it means that it's not guaranteed. If it's in red, it means you will lose that power no matter what. Generally, it's a public action meant to humiliate, things like beg for peace, something like that. So remember, the ultimate goal, you don't, if your power falls to 0, then you lose the game. You become a figurehead. So you always want to think kind of, the trade-off is, okay, I'm going to ask, you are the ruler, but it's kind of like a oligarchic monarchy, is that you rule, but you rule only with as much power as your people allow. So you have to kind of be careful. You can't just push everyone around, unless you have the power to do so, which right now you do not. So go ahead and click on improve specific economic sector. Let's kind of see where you stand. Now they're friendly, so yeah, they're probably going to do it. So you can see the decision score on the lower center between 50 and 63, and your power is 256. As long as that decision score is lower than your power, that's a good thing. You want it to be lower. All right, so go ahead and click on factories for economic sector. Okay, confirm, and they should. Yeah, I need to get rid of some debug code. I need to get out of there. All right, so they will start focusing on factories. So now, while you're here, now we can do the retail sector. So go back to assignment actions. And then, you can go right back to the. So there's a bug in it to where it won't update until you go to another planet. We're kind of working on that, so you have to click on another actual inhabited planet. I mean, I guess it's not a bug technically, but we want it to update right away, so it's something we're going to update. So just click on any other planet. And then, okay. And then now you can go back to and then it will work. It'll also update if you wait a turn, but obviously you want to see the results. All right. So now go back. So now if you go to production, build plan, you can see now they will focus on factories. So, and see the build points are now 6 because now they have actually overdriven it for you. When you ask them to do a focus, they also will try to increase the production. That's kind of a fairly new thing because it's kind of a way to help the player so they don't have to do this like, okay, I need you to do this, but I also need you to set the amount. So they kind of are a little smarter with that. All right, so if you go to the Viceroy again, go ahead and click on, and then go to assignment actions. And then now you're going to change retail allocation percentage. So it does exactly what it says. We'll set it to about 30%. Again, you don't want to go too high or you'll start using more material. And right now you don't have that many merchants. So if you set it too high, you're building a ton of stuff, but you have no way of getting, you have no stores. Think of it that way. You have no way of getting it to the people efficiently. So if your efficiency is low, there's no point in cranking it too high. You just have a bunch of stuff sitting in warehouses that can't get to the people. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay, so go ahead and confirm. Excellent. Okay, hit close screen. All right, so now go to retail. All right, you see the retail allocation's already improved, so you should start seeing an improvement next turn once that kicks in. All right, so you've got 3 action points left. Basically a big part of the early game strategy is trying to figure out, okay, do I want to expand? Do I want to concentrate on a house liking me? Do I need to concentrate on reducing a house's power? What do I need to do? What's, is my economy in the gutter? You also need to set your science too. Don't forget to do that. So go ahead and click on the science icon. It's the second from the top on the left. Okay. So right now, so you have 16.2 quintabytes. I'm going to change that, I promise, of data. And so you can kind of see what each house is giving you right now. So as you can see, Horlock is giving you most of your research. They're second over. They're giving you 11, and even they're only giving you 66%. So, but you can see they're because they're your ally, they're giving you a lot. Whereas if you go to Kierley Finn, they're only giving you 1 quintabyte, but you see their science is 80. So, but they're not going to give you much because they don't like you very much. So that's kind of where you need to. And again, this is what makes Alliance so different is like you can't just build a ton of labs and just brute force win the day. I mean, you could put all your holdings to academies and kind of do it that way, but you've got to get some of the houses on your side. There's no way to win this game without getting at least 2 or 3 houses on your side. And you can't, it's hard to get every house on your side because they don't like each other either. There's some internecine issues. So a big part of the strategy is thinking early on, okay, what house am I going to concentrate on? What do I need? Do I need research? Do I need military? Do I need economics? Do I need strong government? Each house is going to be strong in something, but you're not going to be able to have everything, and you can't go it alone. You can't, you're not good at everything. So a big part of the game is facilitating that cooperation. But then, of course, spending too much time on the cooperation means you're not spending time expanding your empire. Like in a standard 4X, you're not building the outposts and the colonies and exploring stars and things like that. So that's kind of your ultimate trade-off. So kind of and that's going to kind of play itself out through the game as you play a few turns, see where things are going. All right, go ahead and crank the practical to 100%. I'm sorry, reforms to 100%, because no, go the other way. Yeah, because right now we still don't have, until we get the military system in, there's no point in researching any of that stuff. Go ahead and click on the start of year cost no power button. That basically sets your distribution. There you go. All right, now I find the most important ones tend to be prosperity and literacy. Go ahead and click on the focus, but go ahead and click on the boxes because you can actually see what's available. Okay, so right now you have all the level 1 reforms, which is great. You don't always get that, which means so once you get high enough for a breakthrough, you're going to get one of those 4 things. But again, you're not going to know what it is, and you'll have the chance to either turn it down if you don't want it, or go ahead and let your scientists go ahead and push forward with that. So all those are good, though. I mean, especially basic mining outposts, and then trade port expansion, planetary retail hubs. We talked about your retail network. You can start building retail network and increasing that way. Retail hubs are a project you can build. All right, so I would go ahead and use that, and then I would look at literacy, and then let's see what's available. Okay, so you're not getting the quantum in internet, which is unfortunate, but you still have academy, baseline education reform. So there's some good stuff in there. You can kind of take a look at it. Keep in mind that the more things you can actually focus on every single category, but of course everything gets spread out. So you can kind of choose to focus on one thing, focus on 11 things. It's up to you. But you have to kind of figure out, so what I have found works best is concentrate on maybe 1 to 2 things at most.
And so when things are unavailable, is that just luck of the draw and just some unfortunate circumstances for me, or are there things that I can do to affect this?
Well, some of the things you can look and see if there's prerequisites. If you hover over one, you can see if there's any, usually the higher level ones, and we're going to change this up a little bit. It's going to look more like a traditional tree on the next version. But for now, like this reform, you need the Viceroy Command Nexus, which is actually in a different, I believe that's in diplomacy or supremacy. So some of them kind of cross over, but no, there's not really a way. They have rarity scores, and some of the better ones within a level are going to have a lower rarity score. So that just represents they're kind of harder to stumble on. For your scientists, they're not as, I guess, easy to just kind of ascertain or come up with. So no, there's really not a way, which is why it's better to get as much research as you can. That way you can get your discoveries faster, and the more forms you get, then it turns over that category, and you get another chance, basically another roll to see if that's a possible reform that you can research.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. So a lot of that's just chance. Gotcha.
Pretty much, because some of they're meant to be harder than others.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, cool. All right. So we've got literacy and prosperity set up, and we are full on for reforms instead of practical, because the practical stuff is war oriented, and that comes next build, right? Or the next month, I guess.
Correct. The next major build. Yeah. The next 8.3.
And so these are my actions, right? The 3 points here, these are my action points.
Yeah.
Quickly.
Yeah. When they're in yellow, that means that to be careful, because you remember it takes 2 to perform a project. So,
right.
So if you want to do a project, you probably should do it now. Okay. So what do if you look at your houses, go back and look at your houses again. So what are you strong in? What traditions are you strong in? And this is something we're going to add on the Emperor screen. You're going to be able to see your house information,
Yeah,
in
so
a few updates. Because right now there's really nowhere to see it. So we're working
I
on that.
made myself strong in economic traditions, and I was sort of just definitely economic traditions was my strength. It was everything else is sort of equal, whereas I put more, I think 65 or 70 into economic.
Okay, well that's good because it means you'll have better viceroys and they'll be able to get more. And that's why New Terra is doing well because you've got probably a viceroy that's competent, has a good economic skill. So, okay, so what I find the second most important right now. I mean, obviously, military will be more important when that's put in, but right now, you probably need to find a house that has a good admin or a good government tradition because
Okay.
you need right now you only have one. I think you only have one planet, and so you can only use ADM of houses that are at least neutral towards you. Houses that are Cold War or below will not give you their ADM to use on projects that don't affect them. Now they'll let you use it if you're building them a star base or something, but not for your own stuff. So and again, you always, of course, you can go out and colonize a bunch of planets and, go get a bunch of holdings, but then that's a large investment and it takes, that's a huge investment in materials and ADM. And then of course you start running into problems. Other houses start getting a little jealous that you're, increasing your demens. Am I saying that right?
Yeah, I
Demesne?
think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
So don't want to get called out, So so that's factored in as well. So if you get too big, without spreading the wealth, then that's going to hurt your relations. So right now, So Horlock, I'm telling you, Horlock is, right now you're already allied with them, so you're already okay with them. What about Van Rigel? I think they're okay. Yeah, they're well. You need some people that are good in engineering, and actually they're very good engineers. You may need to there's actually a new option. You didn't have this, but there's an option to change an administrator on a planet, that even that one that you don't own. Basically you go to the house leader, it's an action under house actions to change administrator. So if you have a decent relationship with them, you can basically say, hey, your viceroy sucks, I can put someone in that's a lot better. What do you say? And they're like, either screw off or that would probably be a good idea depending on your relationship. So that kind of solved, there's a lot of frustration with players like, man, I get this terrible planets and they won't ever change their viceroy. So I made that an option, something that you can kind of control somewhat, again, if you have a decent relationship. So I would get Van Rigel on your side. That's who I would probably focus on. Milok's really good with mining, but you seem to have a fair amount of materials. You've got, 8,000 plus basic in your stockpile. I mean, I think you're probably okay there. I would get Van Rigel to be your buddy if
Okay.
possible.
All right. So how am I going to do that? Walk me through it.
Well, there's not one way to do it. I mean,
How can I start that process?
You can put you can put the leader on the council. You can give them money. A quick way to do it is to basically prostrate yourself in front of them and beg for peace and beg, you are mighty, and that will lose you a bunch of power, but that's very effective. If you want to be less direct, you can improve their planets. You can give them a planet. If you really want to do it, you can give them a holding. You can give them you can give them a system. You can always basically think about in real life, if it would make you happy within the game, it will make them happy as well. So if you're trying to get it done in a hurry, the best two ways are either give them a holding, but that's really expensive, and holdings are kind of hard to come by, or you can beg for peace, but again, you lose power and respect. I tend to, if it's not a roaring emergency, I try to look at what they need. So right now they have a negative GPP, so I would focus on, okay, why? What do they need? They have a level 1 star base, a system trade hub. They're always happy when you improve a trade hub, because it means they can improve their own economy. So I would look to build them a trade hub. So they only have 11 merchants. They're just not set up well for trade. So you can help with that. They may decide to do that on their own, but it's much better when you're paying for it instead of them. So I would start a project. And see, he's very friendly towards you, so he's an ally. So I would do a project to upgrade their starbase.
And is that through friendly actions, or do I do that?
No, that's a project. That's on the project
Okay.
bar and that's going to change. We're actually going to have the actions will be buttons that you see right above the modes,
Right.
and there'll be context. But for now, so you'll go build expand starbase. Okay. I don't think we've gone through projects.
Nope, we haven't.
Okay. All right. So projects are basically they're the biggest things you can do in the game. They are huge. You know, this is the equivalent of like getting your leaders together and getting the infrastructure, getting the money together, getting your resources together to do something big. Whether it's colonizing a planet, you know, exploring a star system, building a starbase, military force, whatever. So the first thing you need to do is pick an administrator. So the administrator has a huge effect on how quickly the project will be done. Now, right now, you don't have anybody on the planet that looks like, okay, you know why? Go to houses. Yeah, you need to click on, on province. See, right now you only have Kiralee Finn. You probably want to get Van Rigel involved in this, because if you get their people involved, you can always do the project yourself. But it's better to get their people involved because they get the power from it. And then they you improve your relationship with them, not only the house, but with the people that you have on the project. Because you see where it says power on the center right, like ethical rating, power, and ADM on the upper right.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yep.
so that amount. So the administrator that you give this project to, they will get 50% of that power automatically, and then the other people, the contributors, will split the remaining 10 power depending on the ratio of money that they put in. So let's go ahead and put okay, you've got the house leader, and he's really got a great skill. So 164%. So a skill number, the number is the number of slots that will open. So if you put someone with a skill of 6, it means they're going to have 6 people that you can add, which is very handy when you have, you don't have like one province governor that's part of that. Shoot. Looks like we have I got rid of all those hanging tooltips. All right. Well, okay. So now you're going to click and drag. So if you look and see the ADM, go ahead and sort by ADM. We're kind of in the center middle. Okay. Oh man, that stinks. I thought I'd gotten rid of all that. Okay. So you're gonna click them over, and then see right now you've got 6 turns to complete. But now, so you've got enough ADM, so it's going to take 6 turns, but now you need to add money. It costs 30 billion credits to fund the project. So you see where they've got their funding percentage on each card, like 100%, 10%, 1%.
Yep.
I would get Parmi Morinu involved because she is going to fund it 100%. So she can fund the entire thing, and she's the house successor. So you want to get her on your good side, because if the house leader kicks it, she's going to take over. All right, so now you can execute. Click on the execute button. Okay, man, that is going to be annoying. So here's what I would do. I would save the game, and I would reload it, and then that will go away. And then,
well, this might be a good opportunity to go ahead and close out this episode, since we've done all that stuff, and we can just come right back to the next episode after we load it and get back into it. So stay tuned for episode 2 or 3 at this point, I guess, where we will continue on with this Let's Play and have Steve walk me through the game and help me not be an idiot. So thanks for being with me, Steve, and we'll see you soon.
all right.
Bye.
Thank you very much.